Hello, a fine good evening to you and welcome to joining us live. This is My Media Prime Television. Bishop Rene is my name. You're welcome to yet another edition of the Sports Magazine, Prime Sports, on your number one reference point for sports in Cameroon, Africa, and the world over. In today's edition of the show, we shall be looking at a host of news-making events within the context of sports. And for sure, we shall be talking about the Southwest Regional Football Championship with match day 5 played already. And yes, we have enticing results after mouth-watering encounters. And Catholic University Football Academy has been doing wonderful things out there in the Southwest region, just like prisons. They, of course, unexpected watchdogs out there and underdogs doing wonderful things within the football world. Also, in Cameroon, we shall be looking at the MTN Elite 1 Championship match day 11 and 12 played already across the national territory with some very enticing results also registered. And yes, many have been talking about all what is happening. We're talking of the sanctions levied on some African countries following poor behaviors during the final phase for qualifiers for the World Cup 2022 to be housed in Qatar. Fine good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. That's, of course, the vitrine of your program this evening. And joining us all the way from the Southwest region, sports journalist with Dream FM Radio, Ngome Michael. A fine good evening to you and welcome to the program.
Well, good evening, Rene, Isah, and good evening to Jemea. It's a pleasure to be back on set once again, and happy new month to all our viewers out there.
Happy new month indeed. What a month it promises to be for football lovers as well, from Africa to Europe. But this evening, the language we understand is that of sports, and he's a sportsman as well, a fine consultant in the world of sports, writer for My Soccer 24, Teke, Jemea, a familiar face on the plateau. A fine good evening to you, sir, and welcome to the program. It's an honor to have you once more.
Well, good evening to Ngome, good evening to the televiewers out there, and good evening to the sport fans and the fans of Southwest football. It's another moment to talk about sports, and we hope that the listeners will enjoy the package of today.
That's certainly the hope we have for you. Now you know who makes the plateau. Time for us to unveil to you what we have in our basket of talking points, ladies and gentlemen. And straight away, we take you down to the Southwest region, where we shall be stopping at areas like Buea, Kumba, and Limbe. Yes, a green city for Kumba, legendary hospitality for Buea, town of friendship, and many opportunities for Limbe, where we've seen football matches counting for match day 5 of the Southwest Regional Football Championship played out there. Impressive results as well, with surprise packages as well. Underdogs are taking center stage on top of the different groups, the likes of prisons as well as Istanbul. As also, we will be talking about the Catholic University Football Academy. But before that, we also know that May 3 was celebrated across the world as the International World Press Freedom Day. And journalists in the University of Buea, student journalists in the University of Buea, had a fine encounter with their colleagues of the English speaking or English expression out there at the pitch A of the University of Buea. It was an encounter as a part of commemorative activities for the celebration of the 2022 World Press Freedom Day. It was an encounter that saw men and women of the press exchange football strengths out there. What a fine one. We begin with you, Teke, Jemea, as part of our surprise package for the viewers this evening. A match that saw goals coming in from both sides, but it ended 1 goal for each side. Your reactions?
Well, it was indeed a memorable day for Kamasej Buea, as well as ASUP, student journalists of the University of Buea. So we expected the gala after a hotly debated workshop which took place at the Waiting Joma Amphitheater 750 at the University of Buea, where we had some guest speakers like Chris Oben and Tanfu Harrison. We were being drilled on the theme of the year, journalism under surveillance, and after that it was a refreshment for the students as well as journalists who are already practicing journalists in the field. So we all gathered at the pitch A of the University of Buea to witness some pleasurable football match. And we saw that Buea Basil, the first vice or second vice president or so of the Cameroon Association of Sports Journalists Southwest Chapter, had to open scores on that particular day with a brilliant goal. He's a former Buea United player. At the time, he started. He was one of the pioneer players of Buea United under Coach Njoku Barnabas, and he has played numerous competitions back then in his days when he was at his prime. Played some numerous interquarter football competitions as well as the University of Buea University Games, where he represented the University of Buea in so many competitions. So he had to execute. In football, when you are aging, they say the heart is beating, but the body cannot move. So I think on Tuesday, the heart was willing to play the game, but I know with his poachy stomach, he has a goal. You will not expect him to actually give 100%. But
it was a rocket.
Normally,
it was a banter out there. What a beautiful goal. And we had really loved to have that in beautiful footages, but of course, we were also active participants of that very fine, mouth-watering encounter out there. Ngome Michael, an encounter you yourself appreciated very much. The men of the press proved once more that their job does not only end at making the analysis and reporting the notes, but also they can be main actors as far as that is concerned.
Yeah, true, Rene. It is that moment where it is not only about a game of football, but we have to appreciate the camaraderie between the two sets. That is, people upon leaving school, we have to meet on the ground, and they came right to us. And after drilling us on lectures on how the profession is run, especially in a digital world where we find ourselves today, it was a moment to really, like they call it in normal parlance, flex around and the muscles, and the game of football was just the best form within which it was gotten and executed. It was a great one, and if my memory serves me right, I think that was the first draw of Kamasech picking up. That is the first game against Ashjuk that they went without any defeat. The previous encounters have always been in favor of the young guys, the vibrant guys, but this time around they were pinned down with a draw, and you cannot talk about that encounter without mentioning the screamer scored by Bazim Buea, as Jemea mentioned.
Not to talk of the assist provided by the Bishop as well. I think it was a fine match, and Baisova, he featured as the left back. Well, we're going to be talking about that possibly in subsequent editions of the program. It's all about sports tonight, and we take interest in the Southwest Regional Football Championship. Yes, of course, we know that World Press Freedom they passed, but football also made lots of news out there. And Ngome Michael, we are looking at football in the Southwest region that is taking a very fine stage. In fact, it appears to be one of the most professional regional championships in the country, and we are looking at a league that is going amidst a strange serenity and stability. What could be the magic working for the Southwest Regional Football Championship this season?
Well, you say it's the best. I think whosoever brandishes the Southwest Regional League as the best amateur football league in the country so far, I think will not be 100% wrong by saying that, because when you look at it, the structures have been were put in place prior to the start of this campaign. For the very first time in the Southwest region, we had a pre-season tournament which was serious, and it came in such a way that it prepared the team. It showed them what they were going to encounter and they are presently encountering. We saw teams where we were hoping to see them dominate throughout the pre-seasons, but we never saw them do so. And it went ahead to say that you have done this, you failed to do this, and it's time to correct it. We're looking at it. Isosa were held today by 0-0 tie with Mount Cameroon FC. You understand that that is a tie on paper. You push out Mount Cameroon to the gutters, but just the way the games and the preparations, the mindset that we've made into it's been so wonderful, and I think that is the entire scenario where people have been conscious. People were made out to be aware that a football season is coming up, and the teams were given a lot of time to prepare. And even though the league was supposed to start at a certain point in time but was postponed, I think it gave more time for people and clubs to re-strategize, come in. We are seeing more surprises We are talking about a side, Kalik University, which at this stage last season were not so prolific. They are high flying, and we are getting the results coming from them. We are getting it, and new teams are coming in. Imagine Southwest United, a new side coming in, pinning Sino Def of all people. Continental will losing games back to back for the first time in almost 2 seasons. So you understand that there is some wind of change, not only in Cameroon football, but it's currently going on in Southwest football, which a time being and the cries for a return to an Elite 2 side. I think with this same spirit, with the collaboration not only between the pressmen, the team owners, and the football authorities in the Southwest region, I think in a short time, which is not very long, we are going to have an Elite 2, a solid Elite 2 team that coming from the Southwest region.
Wonderful precisions there. In the shortest time possible, we're going to be having an Elite 2, a very solid Elite 2 team to represent the Southwest region. That's, of course, the words of Ngome Michael, sports journalist. But still, we're talking about Southwest football on the program today. And yeah, it has come with lots of surprises, Teke, Jemea. We've seen the likes of Tempstar recording their very first points for the season. And guess whom against? Njalakwan Sports Academy of Limbe, Amino Popo. And also, at the same time, we're seeing an Istanbul that started the Southwest Regional Football Championship in flying colors. And their last 2 encounters, they were beaten, and today they managed a draw. What could really be happening with some of these teams? It appears fatigue is setting in while some are picking their steps.
Well, I think it is all about the league, the competitiveness of the league, because the league is 14 matches. It's not in the past seasons where you play just 4 games at times, maximum of 6 or 8 games. But now you are going to play 8 games. So it is Buea United. They started the season poorly, losing to Treviso. But as time goes on, they try to cut their teeth and dot their eyes. I know Coach Olabas, this is his 3rd season in charge of Buea United, after he succeeded Coach Enan Severin at one point in time during the 2018-19 season. So he has been there with the team for a very long time, and if as of now, the team normally is to pick team, because that's one of the organized teams as far as Southwest region is concerned, in terms of the support and the finances and their brand as far as the Southwest football is concerned. So you expect them to perform well as far as their pool is concerned. But however, though they started poorly, but they gain confidence as the competition goes, as far as Pool C is concerned, also Pool C or Pool C. So I think Buea United, we cannot just write them out. They're a team that has always proved to be a top team in the Southwest region. For the past 2018-19 season, they failed to qualify for the Mini-Interpol. 2020, we know what happened with COVID-19. But last year, they struggled to qualify to the Mini-Interpols based on the playoffs, which they defeated Future Dreams of Kumba in the playoffs to qualify for the Mini-Interpol. But however, they failed to gather momentum in the Mini-Interpol last football season after losing, I think, all of their matches in the group stage of the Mini-Interpol. And so you expect that this season is another season. And the way they are going with 27 points up for grabs, because approximately 9 games are up for grabs in the next. Now we have five days of play have been played, so we need 9 days remaining to the end of the season. So the clubs still have something to fight for survival and maybe qualify for the Mini-Interpol. And we hope that with the form with Buea United is in as at the moment, having a draw against Istanbul Football Academy that held the likes of Opopo and Mankamoronese of Buea. Those were key teams as far as Pool B is concerned. So you expect that Istanbul should be should match Buea United as far as that particular game is concerned. But as time goes on, the team subsequently pick confidence as far as the league is concerned. Reasons why they got the much awaited draw, and Ngesa Clifford, who won the man of the match as far as the game is concerned. So you understand that the team is actually getting some steam. And I know Coach Alabas, he was working with this young team last season he worked with them, and he made mention of the fact that he's building a team for 2 years. So I think this last year was just the first year. So we hope that this year and come next football season, we saw from their congress which they held at the level of the pre-season, where they said they are also nursing ambition to go League 2, but it's something of a process. They cannot just start immediate, but they think that in the future they are going to get an Elite 2 ticket for the Southwest region. So where they are going to, we can be able to ascertain that they are actually matching words with action as far as that direction is concerned.
Ngome Michael, we still stay in the Southwest region, where we know football is making one of the best news as well as far as football fans and sports fans out there are concerned. Now let's look at Catholic University Football Academy. The last time they were such in a prismatic form, they ended up playing the finals of the mini interpools out in the Southwest region. We are seeing some beautiful football they are playing this season. I mean, we've had 3 Man of the Match awards won there already by a certain Jemea, who has scored, I mean, beautiful goals out there and is making all the news in all the good ways and the right ways as well. When we look at them and their run of form in recent times, one is tempted. They might just, of course, be on the track of repeating history, and this time maybe improve on it.
Yeah, and it is true, because when you look at it, picking up 12 points from 4 games, it's resounding. It echoes a lot. It communicates a lot of what they are made of this season. And when you pay attention with Catholic University, they don't just go for wins. They make sure that their wins are so...
They punish their opponents.
Exactly.
In the right way.
They put them to the sword when necessary. Yes. You saw Jemea scoring a hat-trick in a single game, winning a Man of the Match 3 times so far. I think he is among the few players with such distinction. And when we are talking about unbeaten side, Istanbul was among the mix, but flushed out by Limbe Football Club Association. And we are talking now about that is Kumba City FC, who have played lesser games than Catholic University SA. So when you pay attention to this side, it is a side that they are showing you that they too have undergone a process. They worked in their silence, because we never heard about them much throughout the pre-seasons. We didn't yet get information about recruitments and so. But they've succeeded. Coach NB Brandon has built a team where the players have believed so much in them, and their wins and victories have come in to solidify the way this side is playing. And when you go further, the last time we spoke with the president of the team, Professor Julius Ngome, he talked about the synergy that exists not only with coaching and players on the pitch. It seems like a blend of the 3 factions. Both authorities of the club and the management of the team on ground. So you understand that they have this blend, and it is paying off. The unity is coming out, and that belief is gradually being solidified. We are not saying that they have won all their matches so far. They are the best. We know, like you mentioned, it is a league with so many games. Fatigue will certainly come in, and it is that point of the season where we are hoping to see how Catholic University will come in and show the resistance they will have to go through. Perhaps
it's a relatively young squad we see with the Catholic University, with the average age around 26 highest. A team as young as the Catholic University, Football Academy. Do you see them go for the regional, interpools, the mini interpools, and possibly the national interpools, and make a name for themselves?
Bishop, if we are to go as per the current records, I think it should be 15 points so far for the team. If we are to proceed this record, I think they are the only side with that blueprint, that clear-cut vision. They already have this belief of seeing themselves somewhere in the mini interpools. And if things are to go this way, I think anyone will pick Catholic University to be the best. But it is a league with a lot of games. You play 14 games, like you said, approximately 20 before getting out of the Southwest region. So it is that point where, as we progress deep into the championship, we're hoping to see how CUSA will maintain their standard, try to resist themselves and keep themselves on track, and see if they will fall off when things come or turn the other way against them.
Jemea Teke, maybe you come to that, but we are looking at a prison site, and according to Coach Stephen, coming into this season, they were referred to as the underdogs, but he keeps playing, you know, the dilly dong game. Speaking to reporters, he would always tell them that, or tell people that they came into the season as, you know, underdogs, but people should not be surprised at the end of the season to find them at the level of, you know, the mini Interpols. Prisons, very impressive after match day 5. Your reactions?
Yeah, they are impressive. You know, Prisons of Buea, we never expected them to go all this way to be the team to actually put pressure on the likes of Teke United, Bestas Academy and Continental Football Academy. And they seem to find the right formula as at this moment, because when you look at the Prisons of Buea, that's a team that you wouldn't expect. They were silent, just like Catholic University, though Catholic University made some recruitments at one point in time, like Ngome Aves, Oscar from Buea United coming into Catholic University. But now Prisons of Buea, they lost some key players like Njoku, who left. He was one of those who inspired the boys at one point in time. Each time the morale was down, and they had Coach Enang Severin last football season, but he had to leave the club midway to, or halfway to the season because of some kind of infiltration into his job. So now we have the former Prisons legend himself, who is also a die-hard fan of Prisons of Buea, Steven Hose, aka Mangamba, who has taken the team in his hands. The team is not yet complete in terms of licenses. Only a few of their players have licenses, according to what he was saying yesterday. So, but they are still progressing. Elonge Moki, the likes of Sam Bolem, and the host of others who are actually making things right for these homeboys as far as the league is concerned. Remember, the game that actually changed their season was against Njalakwa Sports Academy. You could see their previous 5 matches. They have not been too bad because even the defeat against Teke United, we expected that Teke United, with all their branding, with all their recruitment, bringing in John Mambo from Victoria United and the rest, they would have crushed Prisons of Buea at the UB field. But it ended 1-0. It tells you that Prisons had something to offer as far as that particular game is concerned, losing 1-0. Reasons why they came against Littlefoot of Teke and defeated them by 3 goals to 2. From there, we knew Njalakwa Sports Academy was going to be a tough test for Prisons of Buea. But a team like Njalakwa Sports Academy that had played 2 games, scored 6 goals, considered just 2, we expected them to crush Prisons of Buea at the Ngome Stadium Annex. But Prisons of Buea was the first to score, and that put pressure on the Njalakwa Sports Academy. From that particular game, Prisons of Buea changed in terms of confidence. Their confidence momentum grew, went on to win Temsa, and the biggest win of the season, their biggest of the season, against Continental FA, a hard-fought victory, which put them in contention for the top spot of within the post slots. Now, presently in Pool A, Bestas Academy, Teke United, and Prisons of Buea all have 10 points in Pool A. That tells you there is a lot of competition, with the likes of the likes of Al Jazeera coming with 7 points or so, if at all they won. So it's going to be a fight for close to 4 clubs fighting for that spot. So, but we never saw Prisons of Buea actually being that team that can actually pose a threat. We knew if at all they want to actually succeed, they are going to be the mid-table team, what I would call a mid-table team, where they are only there to survive. But as it stands now, they are a contender for the top two slots as far as the Interpol is concerned. While we thought Continental would have been also part of it, but now Continental are way down as far as Pool A is concerned, with 4 points from 5 games, which is a poor form. The last time Continental had that particular run of form was in the first round of the 2018-19 season, when they went the first round, bottom of their group. But Coach Lazar at the time, who was the coach who was voted the best coach of that particular season, 2018-19 season, had to turn things around and won a series of matches in the second round of that season and qualify for the Interpol. So that was the last time they went that streak. And the last time too they went 3 games without a win was in the Southwest Regional Mini Interpol, where they went just like Buea United this season or last football season, 3 games without a win. 1-0 defeat to Lifka in the first game. 2-1 win. I mean 2-1 defeat to Njalakwan Sports Academy at the Molicom Sports Stadium. Then that 3-0 victory. I mean 3-0 defeat to PWT of Kumba at the Limbe Centenary Stadium. So since then they haven't gone that spring. So I think Coach Enoch George still has a lot of work to do. But as it stands now, Prince of Buea look the team in form as at the moment, because the way they are going, out of 4 matches, they've dropped point just once in 4 matches, 3 wins and 1 draw. It tells you of a prison side that, according to what Wose was saying, he said the team actually is built under some unity, where we have Samuel Mbolem, despite the fact that he has won after those 5 matches, he has won 3 Man of the Match award and scored 2 goals. He's the captain. The little monies which comes from the Man of the Match, he does some sharing with his guys,
the rest of the guys in the squad. Yeah.
And even the guy who won yesterday, I think he has done the same, because Samuel was not the one who won yesterday. So it's a different player who scored the Enone Junior who won the player, the Man of the Match. So I think that is what is keeping them ablaze. Right. Like I said, I always tell people that it doesn't matter the team you have. All matters is the mentality and the confidence that the team builds as far as their season is concerned. Reasons why I see pieces of Buea are doing the marvelous job they are doing.
It's all about the mentality, according to Teke, Jemea there, and as well as the mindset the players have approaching each game. But also these games have not come without controversies, though we're getting unconfirmed reports that we could be headed towards the very early managerial casualties out there. But we shall of course wait until all of that is made official and public for us to report. But let's take interest in the officiating, and many have frowned at it as well. Yes, many have frowned at it, from Njalakwan Sports Academy to Prisons of Buea, down Continental, and of course Ajax Lions of Likumba. Many persons have not really been smiley at some of the decisions arrived at by the different officials of the match. Michael Ngome, we are looking at aspects that have been addressed in the different symposiums, but the same mistakes keep reoccurring. What's the way forward with the appreciating? First, I mean the officiating. What has been your appreciation of the officiating so far?
Well, when it comes to matches based in Buea, which in almost every one of it have been true, we cannot take away that aspect of dissatisfaction coming in from the dugouts of our respective teams. I remember Senior Dev in 2 occasions have pointed several mistakes that have caused them. Buea United are still in that same camp where they think due to officiating errors they lost games. They lost games or didn't get the fair share of results they wanted. But one thing we have to know is not necessarily justifying that the decisions taken were correct, but we have to understand that before being officials, these persons are equally humans, and mistakes are common with humans. So what we have to do is, it is a walk situation for everybody. We've seen it, the administration has come in with some incentive with respect to beautiful officiating. At the end of the season, there is something to await or to be awarded to the persons who will distinct themselves when it comes to officiating. But it has to be a walk situation for the clubs. If you think something went wrong against you, an official went wrong against you, I think verbal confrontation at the touchline are not the best way. You bear with me that you might have a case, but the manner in which you present it, you stand the chance of losing that case. So it is time where I believe there are procedures after a game that coaches, team captains, and authorities of the team should follow in order to lay their complaints and see how the situations are being addressed. We are equally pleading that the officials, we know there are symposiums, there are occasions where you train. You have to set in an objective for yourself. I think nobody as an official or even a player wants to stay for the rest of his or her life out there in the Southwest region. So try to do things the way that it should be appreciated. And this can be achieved by extra working at the part of the referees. We live in a world that it's so connected. Courses can be taken online. Situations, familiarize yourself with recent rules of football and understand how they operate, and as well as educate your teams. And one thing too, which has been common when it comes to this officiating, is the fact that prior to games, officials are allegedly spotted with some persons, some club officials prior to games. I think that is, even if it is not related to what they do on the pitch, I think it's something that we have to stop. The officials should stop this and see how it is, because at some point in time when
their presence and it is being spotted with them create vacuums.
Yeah,
and these vacuums need answers. And when the answers are not provided, people are tempted or even forced
when
to make
the tempers begin to flare, it is linked more directly, as if the connection to whatever discussions they had before the game with more club authorities, it is influencing the decision. I think first of all we have to as well address that situation. Try to avoid such scenarios, and referees have to work with themselves, because when you do it good, the people will tell you, the media will report about it, and it is yourself taking yourself to another level. So the internal works should be there, and that is extra time on yourself. Just like players are encouraged to take extra time, I think officials should do that. Take courses, interact with each other, see how things could be better. Because at some point in time, we are talking about a region that is so competitive, like Jemea said. It's competitive at this stage where we need just two winners per group. Imagine when we are booking for that final ticket for the national interpose, how such things can come into play and distort the schedule.
All right, 30 minutes into the show already, done and dusted with talking point number 1. Our hands are dipped this minute into the basket for us to pick our next topical issue. And guess what we're talking about? Football still, but this time around at the national level, with games counting for the 11th and 12th day of the MTN Elite One Championship in Cameroon, played across stadia in the country, with some mouth-watering results recorded. Of course, we're able to pick together and pull together results of Pool A for you, where we had Ice Fortuna measuring football strength against Panther Football Club of Ndei, and it was a victory for Panther, 2-1, while APGS measured football strength with Union, and it was of course victory for APGS, 2-0. Fauve Azure also measured strength of football with Colombe of the Jan Lobo, and Fauve came out victorious in that one, 1-0. And in the other encounter, Jico Football Club FC featured against the Stade Rene, and Stade Rene were whitewashed 3-1. In the meantime, Racine was beaten by Canon of Yaoundé, 2-0, while the other encounter pitted Young Sports Academy of Bamenda against Tonnerre Calara Club of Yaoundé, and it was of course a sad day in the office for the academicians of Bamenda, as they were humbled 2-1 by Tonnerre Calara Club of Yaoundé. We know that we of course are headed towards the mid part of the season, and the big question men of the press, analysts, as well as lovers and fans of sports and football in Cameroon are asking, why is it that we have so much vacuum? Why is it that there are so many unanswered questions? At the beginning of this season, many persons had hoped that there would be lots of professionalism and lots of promises attained, but still, we have reports of clubs that are threatening not to go on the green turf if some conditions are not met. In the same light, we equally have cases of some unfulfilled promises in regards to the press. Teke, Jemea, you would attest with me that at the top of the season, it was told that there would be, of course, some attention given to men of the press within the framework of the 2021-22 football season in Cameroon. But the men of the press are yet to talk about that. Why do we have so many unanswered questions?
Well, the men of the press, they have their own way. Their own, it's been taken care of. I think with that, you have to focus on maybe towards the end of the season, how well they are going to treat the men of the press.
What about the trainings?
Well, the trainings, it all depends on those involved. I can't say for sure what they have to do as far as the training is concerned. But I think we just need to do our work and understand that there are some people who are watching. They say journalism under surveillance. So you have to understand that is the theme of the World Press Freedom Day. So you might not know who is watching you, and come the end of the season, you say, okay, this is what is happening as far as the season is concerned, and probably in subsequent seasons. But it's the same thing that is going in even with the clubs. You know, with the clubs, as it stands now, the clubs are saying they should ensure that the 35 registered players of each club should be made known by the league to avoid disputes. And so they have to homologate the away matches of the second round or so, and do some kind of their own share of the sponsored money from the mobile telecommunication company. So they are all demanding all this to ensure that it is met before the start of the second round. You know, Pool A has 18 teams, and so you expect that most of their matches were still remaining. I think the 18 matches were to be played tomorrow. They are to be played tomorrow, Friday, for Pool A, while Pool B second round matches are to start on the 8th of March. 8th of May, this weekend. So if those conditions are not met, then you expect the league to be suspended. But for the present bureau that I know, they knew that the season is so short. That's why we are in a marathon, and so we expect situations where the league is not going to be like that of last football season, where clubs had to wait for 2 months, a 2 months break before they get back into the pitch for the second round, which had to delay and affect the country's participation at the level of the CAF Champions League and Confed Cup. So we will not want to fall into that same trap this time around. The fixtures of the second round of Pool B matches have already been programmed for Sunday, May 8th. So we expect that this will actually enhance the clubs. But this comes at a time when the President, Samuel Eto'o, in collaboration with the National Syndicate for Professional Footballers, met to give clubs a 72 hours ultimatum to provide the balance sheet of how they have been paying their players for the past 2 months. And the clubs, instead of presenting the balance sheet, instead give a condition that you must provide a list of 35 players. So you understand the polemics that is going on between the club presidents as well as the league body, the transitional committee. So we hope that in the days ahead, we'll see some good recommendations as far as or good proposals or measures taken by the transitional committee in collaboration with FECAFOOT to see that the clubs go back to the pitch, because since the season is so short and you expect to have a champion that will represent the country at the level of the CAF Champions League, though we have the champion of the Confed Cup already, but we expect a big champions, or like a last football season where we only selected Fufu Club of Baham before they could smell the CAF Champions League. They were already booted out, so we don't want that situation again to happen. So I think with the present bureau, we have some confidence in them that they can do something to service the situation of the clubs, despite the fact that the clubs are still agitating that their conditions should be met in order for them to go back to the pitch. But I think that with this present bureau, they can do something as far as the clubs are concerned.
That's the big belief many persons are, and it turns out not only a handful of persons, but a host of them have confidence a lot invested as far as the current bureau of FECAFOOT is concerned. But it's not also a bureau that has come without challenges. Recently, news has been circulating of some staff that were suspended in connection with some inappropriate behavior and practices And we are looking at this as matching actions with words, but we are going to leave football on the green turf. Ngome Michael, when you of course appreciate some of the runs of these clubs, we saw the likes of Young Sports Academy starting almost on eagle's wings, and as at now they seem to be creeping on Dirk's legs, and all of this seems to also be reflected as a result of some of the juxtapositions that could be happening on and off the pitch at the level of the different état majors of the clubs.
Well, you understand that for almost the very first time we are having a league that is so much consistent. And that is why it brings in more beauty into the game in Cameroon, because when you look at it at this point, there are teams, there are clubs that are hitting the headlines. But it is that point where we'll have to see how far they are going to maintain their standards. Because if you see the likes of Canon, who went, I think, 5 games unbeaten, but had to succumb to 2 straight defeats and a draw before bouncing back, you understand that it is something really tough. It's a run that is not going to be easy. And that's why the likes of Avion, Edinspor, and Astre Football Club based out here in Douala are always commended for when talking about this campaign so far. They've played so many games for Edinspor so far. They've had, I think, the best defensive record too, scoring a good number of goals. And you look at it, Edinspor, they've had a sector in place. They have this idea that they have succeeded in mounting a blend of experienced age players as well as the young who have come in to dish out the results. They've been so good, and just one defeat from the first round, you understand that these are a side that, when you look at them, Avion, Ashtray, and defending champions Coton Sport of Garoua, they are just those sides where you foresee to see them clashing between each other for that place as champions of the Elite One, and it is a good one so far. For Pool A, it gives us that glimpse that things might change. Yosa, with the likes of Tegemo Emmanuel in the top scorer sheet for so far for the first round, they fell to Tonnerre. You understand? Tonnerre that started the season with in-house conflicts, poor results coming in, but they had their second win of the season and coming in against Yosa, inform Yosa. You understand that they have something, and Panther equally, they had a win. So it is just showing you that these bottom sides, they might just use this last round of escaping relegation and causing more havoc to those who think to those whose confidence have been built and constructed on so much results that have been coming. So it is going to be a much more competitive round in the league so far. So when we're hearing about demands and things like that, I think the clubs and the players are right for the fact that they are demanding what the sponsor of a league has. I think this is something we questioned here, what the telecom company was bringing into the league, and it wasn't stipulated. Yeah, they've brought in the Man of the Match awards and things like that. The whole fanfare is exciting. We've seen new changes being made, but I think some of these things, these were some of the necessities that were supposed to be treated at the start of the season. We don't hope to see football being halted at this point where the hungry population have been fed with it and they want more of it at this point in time. So we are just hoping, and kudos to the team, most especially Coton Sport of Garoua in Pool B, who had a string of 10 games in all competitions, a poor one, and they succeeded in restoring themselves in somewhere where they think they belong and wish to go further. So we are just hoping to see how the next round of the season goes, and it's promising to be so electrifying.
Promising exactly to be so electrifying. That's certainly the feeling across the national territory as the different clubs continue. Well, the interesting aspect of all this is that the much cry about salaries not paid of players has died down. But a very big question, of course, we know that the current president of FIFA Food, Samuel Etofis, had given an ultimatum of 72 hours for clubs to provide answers to questions evoked by different players of the clubs. But we are yet to know if the ultimatum was expanded or not, or extended, I beg your pardon. And also we are yet to find out if the players are being paid. But if there is quietude about the whole issue, then there could certainly be some stability as far as that is concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who are just tuning in, you're on to My Media Prime Television. You're watching Prime Sports. It's, of course, one of the best sports magazine, not only in Cameroon or Africa, but also the world over. Here we bring you the reviews, the views, as well as we take a deep look at what makes sports news. And what is coming almost as a big surprise from the world of basketball is the fact that Joel Embiid has reportedly dropped Cameroonian nationality in favor of France or French. We shall be talking about that in subsequent editions of our program, where we come back to you. We take interest now on the sanction placed on some 6 African countries by the World Football Governing Body, FIFA, that's coming at the last stage of matches played, counting for the final stage of the World Cup qualifiers for the 2022 Qatar World Cup. And Cameroon amongst the African countries, the likes of Senegal as well as Nigeria, some of the main talking points that have made news on different media platforms across the African continent. We take interest first in the fact that even after FIFA laid out this red carpet of sanctions to these African countries, even the likes of Algeria, we had hundreds of thousands of them around the presence of the FIFA headquarters out there, protesting some of the decisions and contesting as well some of the decisions, asking for a rematch between Cameroon. And the very big question is, what is expected of FIFA at a time like this when demonstrations are really being staged? Teke, Jemea.
Well, I think that you understand this frustration, and it is frustration, and so you expect the Algerians to act the way they are acting. You know, unlike their counterparts, the Egyptians, who are also doing the same issue. It's a painful one for you to lose a World Cup qualifying game on where you are on an advantage going into that particular game, and so it was like a bitter pill for the Algerians to swallow as far as that particular game is concerned. So I understand their frustration. We've once been in that particular situation back then in October 2005, where we had to play Egypt at the Amadou Ado Stadium, where we scored and Egypt equalized, and that Pierre Melen's last-minute kick, which hit the woodwork and was nowhere to be found. I mean, they ran objects, and so we had to be booted out of the World Cup qualifiers to 2006 in Germany, and Côte d'Ivoire had to qualify. So we also suffered that same frustration where there were threats burning the house of Pierre Melen. So this is the same thing that is happening with Algeria. As far as the Buea Stadium is concerned, you understand that the team normally, they believe that the stadium in Buea was the fortress. And so you understand that they had to they thought they were going to crush Cameroon after beating Cameroon for the first time in Douala for over 21 years. You know, the last time they won Cameroon in that particular, or in this economic capital, was Ghana in 1999 in the AFCON qualifiers for the year 2000, which was supposed to be hosted by Kenya, but because Kenya withdrew and Nigeria and Ghana had to take the emergency host, Cameroon had to qualify to replace Ghana. So since then, we took the defeat here at the Jafuma Stadium with good faith. So we never did some protests saying that maybe the referee was somehow biased. So we went to the Buea Stadium and we did the damage. They are saying that the Gassama was very poor in terms of his officiating. The fact that the goal of Islam Slimani were ruled out. He scored 2 goals. One was an offside goal. The other was the handball. And so I think it was not Gassama who made the decision as far as those 2 goals are concerned. Gassama only went to the VAR. The VAR called him and said, go and check. And it was because of the Ghanaian match, the Ghanaian South African match, which FIFA had to endorse the use of the VAR. Because had it been the VAR was not there, those goals could have been validated. But now the VAR came in, and the same Algerians accepted that the VAR should be there because they saw the controversy between Ghana and South Africa in the final group match out there in Cape Town or Cape Coast, where it was a 1-0 win for Ghana, where they say it was a controversial goal scored by Andre Ayew, which was a penalty. So after that, you understand that the Ghanaians, I mean the migrants, Algeria inclusive, accepted that VAR should come in. So Gassama consulted by the VAR, not his decision. He went to the VAR and saw that the goals were not supposed to be valid. And even when Colina had to come in, one of the greatest referees that ever existed on planet Earth, made a statement that from what he's seen, there is no error from Gassama, that he started his job as a referee to give those decisions as it is. There was a handball. Colina made mention of the fact that there was a handball from Slimani. There was an offside goal. You scored a goal at 180 minutes, 18 minutes, and you celebrated for over 3 minutes. Who is, and this same Gassama was the person who officiated the game Algeria versus Nigeria, which Gassama gave Algeria a free kick.
Well, we may not say that Gassama gave Algeria it was a free kick.
It was a free kick which they scored, and it was from a vintage position.
When we look at it,
you will understand that, okay, when Mane scored, why did they not say that it was a controversial moment?
We would not make such authoritative statements to say that Gassama gave.
No,
there was a foul. He identified one.
It had to affect the Algerians because inside the stadium they played 43 matches. That was the 44th. So they had 36 wins, 6 draws. So they knew that the 44th would be a win for them, or a draw.
They almost had it at some point.
They almost had it at some point, but they couldn't have it. So it is football. They have to accept the fact.
Absolutely.
They should really hope that come the Africa Cup of Nations, which Cameroon has already qualified based on paper.
On paper,
so they should pray that we should meet them.
Jemea is running faster there.
No, they should pray that
that's being optimistic, and it's permitted.
The group stage of the AFCON. Then there they can show their might if they can utterly beat us, because they know themselves that after I think it was a 7-match game between the two teams, they will manage to beat them I think twice, taking 3 draws. And their only defeat, their only victory was at the Japuma Stadium, which Algeria had to defeat. So, based on paper, they cannot beat Cameroon. Based on paper, the history says it all. So, why were they agitating that the win for Cameroon was a biased one, whereas we have been winning them? So, it is something that is emotional.
And just to let you know that after having filed their complaint to FIFA, they were rather fined $3,000 Swiss for throwing of objects and lighting of fireworks in the stadium. But also we had Nigeria, who were fined a total of 63 million naira, that's a whooping, 154,086 Swiss francs by the World Football Governing Body, and they will further play a match or one match without fans for allowing their fans to invade the field during the defeat against Ghana. Ngome Michael, we are looking at some of these fines, and the big question is, some look heavier and some look, lighter. But you as a football and a sports consultant and a sports journalist, you best understand the polemics around all of this.
Well, I think we immediately after the game in Abuja, where Nigeria saw their quality team, highly quality and rated team booted out for the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup, we saw it. It was on sportsmanship. I think the fine from FIFA, I would say it's valid. We had an official lost his life in that incident.
Exactly.
The structure was ransacked. When we talk about pitch invading, that was some sort of uncalled for. It was uncultured.
It was extreme.
Yeah, and when you look at it, it's not even the result of that day. That it looked like a accumulation of feelings that burst out that evening out there in Nigeria. So they might look heavier. I think Nigeria, they have themselves to blame for that. And it's time whosoever is facing sanctions and fines should pay and learn how to bring fans together. Just to say, when you look at it, the Algerians, just like Nigerians, it's like I mentioned, it's a combination of feelings that came up. Algeria, they should understand that Belmadi truly had a wonderful run before things started turning around. It's the game of football. They had, I think, their worst run so far in the African Cup of Nations. Out here in Douala, it was not a beautiful story to write about. So they were hoping to use the World Cup as a restoration for their status. But they got the win here, good and fine. They went there, the game was played. I think we've seen recently games that have changed at similar moments. So the Algerians should just know they have to put themselves back together and bring things right. Because when you look at it, at times when fans behave at type south of the Sahara, it's quick to make some assertions about ways of our behavior. But when we look at the countries, the Maghrebian countries where their football is well developed, we rarely hear things about, but when they start behaving like that, it's uncalled for. For Nigeria, I think they just have to pay their fine and stay without playing the matches. I think a match without the fans and see how they assemble their broken pieces together. Because even the Ghanaian side that had to pick the ticket in Abuja was not so perfect than Nigeria, but they just had to do some administrative adjustment and it worked for them, and they went through to the FIFA World Cup. So it is time football FAs in Africa sit together and educate their fans, because we had pitch invasion, say, in Douala. We shouldn't deny that, and I think it's time we make people more understanding that football, yeah, the emotions can come in, but we should try to control it. Because if we start acting out of emotion, I think things would never be good.
And Egypt equally had requested for a replay of their match against Senegal, but they also received a fine, and they were fined 6,000 Swiss dollars after the referee in the second leg in Dakar cautioned 6 individuals on the Pharaohs squad. And we also know that in both encounters, some players had laser lights on their eyes, which possibly affected their performances. Teke, Jemea, we are seeing a very despicable behavior of some fans. And I mean, yes, Ngome Michael has talked about educating the fans and letting them know that football absolutely is a game of passion, but you need to also learn and be able to contain this. I mean, what is that route that some federations in Africa need to follow to be able to educate the fans and bring them up to speed with the facts that football, being a game of emotions, can either go good or bad, but you need to maintain your calm?
Yeah, that is it. You know, football, normally the Egyptians, they had to behave the way they are behaving because it was kind of frustrating for them to lose to an opponent in 2 successive occasions in the AFCON and in the World Cup qualifiers, because it was believed that they were going to defeat Senegal to qualify for that World Cup for the first time in their history. They've never qualified for back-to-back World Cups in Egypt. So it came a point where they had to agitate, calling for the replay, saying that the Senegalese fans were the Senegalese fans were not professional in the way they were received out there in Dakar. But however, they too were also faced with some malpractices or some lapses, which FIFA had to identify. Like you said, the referee's report. So that again, it is, like you said, educating our fans is one thing that has to do with the federations to educate fans on how things are being done. We've seen that most of these fans in Egypt, the Al Ali, the Zamalek, those are most of their fans, which to control such fans, you have to actually, it starts from the clubs themselves, because most of those Egyptian fans are the fans of those Egyptian clubs. And now when you look at, even at the level of Europe, some fans, it's somehow difficult to control fans. There was a time when Chelsea fans were suspended for racially abusing players of Paris Saint-Germain also at one point in time, and so those fans were being suspended. So it is the emotional aspect of the football game. The sport, it has to do with emotions, it has to do with the psychology, and so seeing your team not being at the World Cup with the best brand of players you have in this generation, with Mo Salah absent in the World Cup, you expect the Egyptian football family to react the way the way they reacted. Even the Algerians too, they were reacting based on the fact that Mahrez was a top player, and so missing Mahrez at the World Cup too was also a loss for the Algerians. And so it is all these things that make these federations and their fans to go off in terms of how they perceive such outcomes. So I think it is somehow the responsibility of the federations to actually educate their fans, make them understand that football is a game of passion. It's not that you win, you lose, or the points are shared. So I think that needs to be done by the Egyptian Football Federation, which they failed, and why FIFA had to come in to also put some slash hammer by giving them that fine, 6,000 Swiss francs, to ensure that next time they don't fall into this same trap in future.
All right, and the sanctions, like we told you, a red carpet of sanctions by World Football Governing Body rolled out to 6 African countries. They're certainly making news on different media platforms, and this has made us to go back to the argument of the development of African football. And Ngome Michael, that's the big question this evening. When we talk of the development of African football, within this framework, what would development of African football comprise of?
Well, it has to start with you and I. That is, every spectator. We understand that we are all lovers of football. I think when it comes to the continent of Africa, we don't have any other game that is soaring as football. So we have to understand how things run in the game. We've seen situations where it happens, and if it happens in your favor, you cheer. You smile, and luckily for Cameroon, luckily for Ghana, luckily for other countries, their fans smiled that day. So we don't know who's next. Egypt won a string of African Cup of Nations. It was in their favor during that period. So it stands down to the fact that we have to build societies and individuals and communities who will understand the context of a gaming of football. We really need to do this, because it is uncalled for that an official travels from one country to another for a game, a beautiful game we all admire on the continent, and ends up not returning home because of vandalism on the part of France, and maybe it was directed towards their national team, but it ended up causing more casualties, and not even to their national team. So we just have to understand and be responsible to that extent, whatever happens on the green turf, irrespective of the fact that some individuals could be held responsible for that. I think we should just keep our calm, be responsible, like I said, and the respective quarters should handle what it takes to put football ahead, because actions like that, they've taken us nowhere so far.
Jemea Teke, it was expectation of many Cameroonians and the expectation of many fans as well that, headed into these last stage qualifiers for the World Cup out there to be played in Qatar, with the lessons one would possibly have learned at the level of the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations for 2021, where we saw a host of persons died as a result of a stampede in a stadium in Cameroon, and in the sidelines of that we still see fans invading the pitch again, and not only in Cameroon but in different countries. One would have hoped to see these fans learn their lessons, but they seemingly are not, they're uncontrollable. What is the panacea that needs to, should we now have a case scenario where we have law enforcement officials, security and defense forces deployed at stadiums for such, because apparently they might be there, but in limited numbers?
Yeah, first, it has to be with the training of these fans, sensitizing them on how football has to how they have to approach outcomes in terms of how, managing defeat or victory as far as games are concerned. So you understand that even at the level of the the Olympic Stadium during the AFCON, when the Lions lost to Egypt, we saw that before we could knew it, before we could understand what was happening, the military men had already surrounded the stadium to prevent fans from invading the pitch, and I think that that's supposed to be one of the biggest measures to prevent such invasion of pitches as far as football games are concerned. And again, it has to do with we coordinating the supporters wing, making it in a structure where there is some executive, where some seminars have been done to see that fans understand how football works, how things are being done in terms of when the fans go to the pitch, how are they coordinated, are they really coordinated in the right way, what do they tell them going into the match days. So all those things have to be put into perspective. It's not only in Africa that these things happen. At times fans go astray. It is emotional. At times it affects the fans. Yeah. We've seen situations where even at the level of England, 2012, when Manchester City won the first Premier League title, then the Aguero famous goal where it had to be beneficiary to Queen's Park Rangers. We saw the fans invading the stadium. But at one point in time, the fans understood that it was unprofessional and they had to go back to the stadium for the trophy presentation of the Manchester City players to be done. So it is all about the sensitization of the players. You might still invade the pitch, but invade it in a professional manner and nothing happens. Because even after that, the City fans were not sanctioned. And so it is all about the mentality going into the pitch. What are you going to do? Yes, theirs at that time was a celebrated victory, which they invaded the stadium and they happened to touch the players, take some snapshots with the players. But when it becomes different, when the fans, like that of Algeria, were destroying the chairs of the stadium, as far as the stadium in Buea is concerned, that's much more vandalism to an extent. And that of Nigeria too was also a similar scenario. But that of Cameroon, which they said because fans invaded during the game against Cote d'Ivoire, which we won back in October last year, we expected that they should have allowed sleeping dogs life because it was more of an emotional victory for Cameroon at a time when we were the one chasing Cote d'Ivoire during that particular group. So winning Cote d'Ivoire, it was more somehow emotional because Cote d'Ivoire had stopped, because we had stayed back in 2006, not qualifying for the World Cup, while Cote d'Ivoire went because Egypt had to put us in a 1-1 draw in October 2005, while Cote d'Ivoire defeated Sudan 3-0. So Cote d'Ivoire went for the World Cup. So when we defeated them at the Jemea Stadium, it was like a revenge for Cameroonians, and so this is why they had to take what they did. But that was not actually vandalism, which warrants some how do I put it, some sanctions, because there was no vandalism in the stadium. We also fans celebrating their victory. But the one of Algeria, Nigeria, those ones, you can understand that the fans were actually tired. And so even the Algerians, their own is even worse because we are about going for a draw. The fans were already angry, breaking the chairs of the stadium. Even before, because
the final whistle.
1-1 on aggregate. So they were already doing the vandalism before even Tuba scored that 118-minute goal. So it became worse when Katoko scored. So you see, the Algerians were already emotional even at the time when the game was still balanced. So that they warrant their sanction at that point. So it is all about the federation taking their responsibilities to see that fans are to be educated. And us going out to the World Cup, most of the teams, Senegal, they were also sanctioned. Cameroon, they were sanctioned, and so forth. These teams who are going now, even DR Congo.
DR Congo was sanctioned.
Yeah, so with the teams that are going, Cameroon, Ghana, Morocco,
Tunisia.
and Tunisia. They have to really educate their fans. This goes even at the level of those of other continents. And they have some radical fans, we know. Radical fans do exist in Europe, Asia, and the Americas. So I think it's all about an eye-opener for all the teams to start educating their fans ahead of the World Cup, because going into Qatar, the Qatari people are also hostile because
we definitely
yeah,
not.
they are also hostile because this is why the British are also agitating, because we saw one point in time when Gary Southgate said it would be an embarrassment for the English people to deny,
not to enjoy the World Cup,
not to deny because of the fact that they violate human rights abuses.
It's understood the polemics around and about that we would not take interest in as far as today's edition of the show is concerned. Possibly in subsequent editions of the program we shall be talking about that. 10 minutes to the end, 10 minutes until we wave you bye-bye from this corner. We take interest in a European round-off as a bonus package for you this evening. And the big question many persons are asking, what went right and wrong with the Sky Blues of Jose Pep Guardiola? Well, of course, we knew that Manchester City headed into the return leg of the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League with an advantage of a goal. But it all turned sour in little less than 3 minutes. Jemea Teke, we saw that match. Ngome Michael, we saw that encounter with Real of Madrid. How was Real able to change the story and change the write-up? And indeed, in football, dare not write the script when the story has not been told.
Yeah, it is true. The game of football, your script has to be written and handed to you at the end when the center man has shown it that it is over. And it was a shocking defeat. Not only a qualification defeat, but a defeat, a second leg defeat for Manchester City, who are still in chase for the first silverware in Europe's top flight competition. So it was a heartbreaking one. The ties of the game turned within 2 minutes. When substitutions were made by Carlo Ancelotti and goals came in from the barest of angles. We saw, irrespective of the fact that some decisions were made off the pitch that affected Manchester City. But when we look at it, if you try to rate, not necessarily putting blame on goalkeeper Edison, but if you try to rate his approach towards the first goal scored by Rodrigo, you understand that was it was not typical of a goalkeeper of his class for that night. And that was somebody too who, in the first leg, we saw him not having a quiet start of the game. So it's just a combination of all these ideas, and thanks to the experienced Real Madrid, who were playing a second extra time in the Champions League, they had to just come in, especially when they got their 2 goals leveled on aggregate. The experience came into play and gave them that belief that they could go in for a 14th UEFA Champions League title. And definitely their Maximan and Karim Benzema came in, moved up to the call and converted it. To me, I think it was just all about experience on the part of Real Madrid. When the opportunity showed its face, they grabbed it and they capitalized on it and finally got the win. Well, we are hoping to see an enticing final coming up, a replay of 2018. So we are just hoping to see how it was. But I think it is another season that Manchester City will have to go in with their heads so low, though we don't know if they'll be going with a trophy or not. But certainly they are in poor position of gaining a championship that they've been accustomed with. But losing against fellow Chelsea last season and now at an identical Real Madrid when they were in the driving seats, it's
a difficult bitter pill to swallow. Teke, Jemea, what's not working? What did not work for Manchester City in that encounter? What did not work for them?
Well, I think Pep is merely going through the same scenario which Antonio Conte went through in the ranks of Juventus, where Juventus have been branded as a domestic champion.
A local champion.
Yes, so that's the same thing. It has come to prove that Pep, his best team he has ever assembled was the team Barcelona 2009 to 2012, where Barcelona won almost everything as far as football could offer for a club. And since then, he has tried and tried with Bayern of Munich. He went there, he had some mega spending, bringing in the likes of Thiago Alcantara, Lewandowski. But you see that he failed at Bayern of Munich woefully, because Jupp Heynckes had left Bayern Munich as European champions in 2013 when Pep had to take over at the ranks of Bayern of Munich. From there, you expect that Pep won the German Bundesliga for 3 straight seasons, but couldn't win the UEFA Champions League. He came so close, winning this in the semi-finals twice, but could not actually cross the semi-finals. So we thought it was the Bayern of Munich kind of way, but he came to City after 6. This is the 7th season going. We expected him to actually correct his wrongs of the past with Bayern of Munich, to replicate what he had with Barcelona in 2009 to 2012. But that seems not to be the case. Yes, he tried to play his first final for the first time since 2011, last football season, but could not actually defeat Chelsea during the finals out there in Porto. But this season, we thought with the players actually having that maturity, that consistency within the ranks of the team, we expected City to go as far as winning the Champions League this season. Because what the City fans need is not the Premier League. They need the Champions League. That is what they need as at the moment. So if Pep is failing after 6 seasons, then I will tell you, without no fear of contradiction, that he has failed at that aspect.
And he should be shown the door.
It will all depend on the City management as well as Pep. But should he fail to win the Premier League, then I think he has to be shown the door. Because at this point in time, there is nothing to offer again if you cannot offer City the Champions League. Because that, if you give them the for now, they are out of the FA Cup. They are out of.
It appeared as if they sacrificed the FA Cup
for
the
Champions
League.
They couldn't win the Carabao Cup. Now the league is 50-50, and so you expect that winning the league is like winning an old broom. So you needed some new trophy to be added onto it. So reasons why winning the Premier League again will not be appetizing to the fans, because the fans desperately need the Champions League. It's like Paris Saint-Germain. The fans do not need the French League, though they have really won it, but they don't need it. They need the Champions League. That is why you see Real Madrid always remains the top team. So I think that this game had already been lost at the level of the first leg, because you playing at the Etihad against the Real Madrid side, you must be able not to avoid concede, because how can you concede 3 goals at home to a Real Madrid side going into the Bernabeu for the return leg? It's very difficult for you to defeat Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. So I think that is where City had to lose the game. They lost the game from the first leg, because taking the lead close to 4 times in the first leg was something that it is rare for City, because when they score you, they don't expect you to score them, because they keep the possession. But they playing against the Real Madrid side, they happened to concede 3 goals going into the Bernabeu. That was where their damage had been done. And reasons why the Real Madrid side, with a coach like Carlo Ancelotti, who had won the Champions League with AC Milan 2007, won it again, I think, with 2005 with AC Milan, you understand that he had all the experience. Giving Real Madrid La Decima in 2014, you expect Carlo Ancelotti to do what he had to do yesterday. He sacrificed almost all of his midfielders just to play against Manchester City. It tells you of a coach who had mastered the game, who knew what was needed by his team. And I wouldn't be surprised if Real Madrid should win this Champions League this year, because of the man behind it, Carlo Ancelotti. He is a man who has coached. For now, he is the only coach who has won all the 5 big European championships in England, Italy, France, Jemea, and
the Champions League.
So,
all right, we have some reactions there from persons watching us from across the national territory, and we'll try possible best to see that we take the rare few that we can. And we have this reaction that says fans really need to be educated on what they are supposed to do when they are on the pitch and the consequences that follow. This money being paid to FIFA can be used for other things like developing football in the country, but because of ignorance of some fans, a country will be paying fines which could have been avoided, and these very fans will be crying of lack of development in the game when huge money that could be used to develop the game is being paid to FIFA as fines due to negligence. A text message signed by Theory, watching us, Chief Town of the Northwest Region, Bamenda. Thank you profoundly for your text message. And owing to time constraint, ladies and gentlemen, we would not proceed with taking off those reactions, possibly in subsequent editions, but we are grateful all those who asked questions. We can attest that we've brought you clarifications as far as all our different talking points are concerned. But before we wave bye-bye from this beautiful plateau magazine of sports on My Media Prime Television, we take a rapid rundown, a marathon rush through our different talking points for our final words of our panelists tonight. First, we started by talking about the Southwest Regional Football Championship, and we asked ourselves the question with the prismatic performances of the lights of Cusa and presence of Buea. The big question is, who do we see go farthest as far as that is concerned? Ngome Michael, any final words?
Well, we should keep our fingers crossed. I think more is still in stock for us when it comes to the Southwest Regional League. I believe the tables might be turned around, and we are hoping to see that more beautiful football comes in, and just the best comes up at the tail end, and somebody who has that ambition to go farthest and at the level of the national Interpol, and perhaps pluck us that long-awaited that is Elite 2 Champions League, rather Elite 2 ticket for the for the Southwest region, which we've waited for quite a long time.
All right, and also in today's edition of the program, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about the National Elite 1 Championship in Cameroon, and made mention of the fact that we've had matches counting for day 11 and 12 played already, with some enticing results recorded already. And also we saw a case where players are threatening not to go on the green turf should some measures they describe as meaningful, adequate and more decisive are not taken. Jemea, Teke, the big question was, are we headed towards an unseen pause as far as the season is concerned? For your last words.
Well, the club president, they are the ones who actually come up with the communique under their president, Pascal Aboni, president of PWD Bamenda. So we hope that since the fixtures are already out for the second round, we already seen signs that the conditions should be met before Sunday, and so we commence on the start of the second round of the championship. And we say good news to Catholic University, Presence of Buea, Kumba City Council, and as well as even Opopo too, Livka, who are making strides. Istanbul, those are teams that are making strides. And so if they are continuing with this same spirit, then they should continue so that we get a better team that can actually represent the region as far as the national Interpol is concerned. And we hope, there are still 27 points up for grabs. There could be some twist somewhere around the league. Catholic University not having the points in future. Maybe see the likes of Sinodef who won their first game today. So there are teams who are also coming up as far as the league is concerned, but the league is still far open. Coach of Continental says he's still eyeing one spot at the level of the mini Interpol. The mini Interpol. So you expect that there is competition ahead for all those teams who are on a bit high as at the moment.
All right, and certainly that's the final note on the program today. We also talked about the red carpet of sanctions rolled out by World Football Governing Body FIFA to some 6 African countries for practices deemed wrong and bad practices for matches counting for the final stage of the qualifiers for World Cup to be housed in Qatar. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how we saw it. Ngome Michael, Jemea, Teke, guys, thank you very much. You took on the daunting journey to travel from the southwest region of the country just to be with us in today's edition of the show. Profound gratitude. Ngome Michael, thank you very much.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk football and talk with Jemea as yourself as well. So it's a great one, and hoping to be on set when next.
Absolutely on the way. Teke, Jemea, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, and we hope that we've given our best today. But next week is another week where we shall track all the latest sports happenings in Cameroon, Africa, and the rest of the world.
And as of course we said in the program today, remember we told you that we shall follow information emanating that Joel Embiid has dropped Cameroonian nationality in favor of French. Well, we shall be talking about that in other editions of the program. Thank you all very much. My name has been Bishop Rene Isah for presentation. Hoping to be with you on Thursday once more. Buea. Thank you.